Hello, my dear friends. I'm Dr. Vaishali Bharambe, Professor Anatomy. And today we're going to discuss oogenesis. So I'm looking at oogenesis as the part of oogenesis that has happened from the time that female was conceived to the time she hits puberty. And then the phase 2, when what happens after she starts puberty. Okay, so that's how we're going to, understanding wise, we're going to have to divide our thought process into phase 1 and phase 2. So, oogenesis, where does it occur? It occurs inside the cortex of the ovary. When does it start? That's a very interesting question. You must think about it. It starts when in the embryonic life of the female we are talking about. If you're talking about a 28-year-old lady and her oogenesis, remember she started the process of oogenesis in her embryonic life. Okay? When the primordial germ cells began their journey passing towards the developing ovary. See here, they've come here, they have migrated into the developing ovary, they have started to multiply and colonize that ovary right that time, long time ago. Okay, so see, you can see the primordial germ cells there. When these primordial germ cells multiply, they begin to form oogonia in the cortex of the ovary. What are they forming? Oogonia. Oogenesis is a process by which these oogonia form mature oocytes. Clear? So, primordial germ cells multiply to form oogonia. Oogonia one day are going to form mature oocytes. The process by which these oogonia produce mature oocytes is called oogenesis. What kind of cell division am I talking about? I'm talking about meiosis. So let's revise meiosis, okay? So meiosis is when a parent cell with 23 pairs of chromosomes and 4 in DNA divides by meiosis 1 to produce daughter cells, each with 23 chromosomes and 2 in DNA. Not 23 pairs, 23 chromosomes. And then goes through meiosis 2 to produce 2 more daughter cells, each with 23 chromosomes and 1 in DNA. This process is called meiosis. So what will happen in oogenesis? Tentatively in oogenesis, this parent cell will be an oogonium. It will divide by meiosis 1 and meiosis 2 to produce 4 daughter cells. How? We'll understand. If you're enjoying this lecture, do please like, share and subscribe to my channel and hit that bell icon. Students, in my lectures, I'm taking great effort to make sure that you get optimum education in medicine and especially in anatomy. Do share these lectures with other students and make sure more and more people benefit from these beautiful lectures. Please share your thoughts. Please, in the comment section, let me know what more you want. I'm here to make sure that optimum education is available for medical students all over the world through VB Anatomy. I also have a website, vbanatomy.com, on which more of such lectures and downloadable notes, surgical anatomy videos, histology diagrams, videos are all available. Do visit the website and, of course, test yourself using the MCQs that I have on my website. Link is in the description section. Continuing our journey, primordial germ cells have formed oogonia. We know that. Okay? Oogonia begin to multiply by mitosis. By the end of the 3rd month, oogonia increase in cell size to form primary oocytes. Primordial germ cells, oogonia increase in size, primary oocytes. So, let's put it in a chart format. Primordial germ cells, mitosis, oogonia. More mitosis, oogonia. More mitosis, oogonia. This goes on, okay, till one day, oogonia increase in size to form a primary oocyte. Got it? So, by the 7th month, all oogonia converted into primary oocytes, okay, Immediately after they are formed, primary oocyte enters into first meiotic division. There, we've started, okay? It enters into first meiotic division. Why am I saying entered? I'll explain it to you. Do they complete meiosis 1? Let's take a look. So, we know that meiosis has phases: leptotene, zygotene, pachytene. So, in meiosis 1, in the 3 phases of prophase, the cell goes through. But as it enters into the diplotene phase, it goes into an arrest. What happens? Meiosis 1 is, it goes through leptotene, zygotene, pachytene stages of meiosis 1. But when it reaches the diplotene stage, it goes into an arrest. So, will the cell have a nucleus? Yes, it will. You remember, it's only when the prophase is over that the nucleus disappears. So, this primary oocyte has a nucleus and it has got the cellular multiplication arrested in the diplotene stage of prophase. Very important. Diplotene phase is the resting phase in which primary oocyte remains arrested till that oocyte enters into an ovarian cycle. Now let's pause for a minute and understand what is this fantastic information we got. Can you imagine that the female we are talking about who's come to your OPD, her oogenesis started in her embryonic life. Okay? Primordial germ cells formed oogonia. Oogonia formed a primary oocyte. Primary oocyte entered into meiosis 1. Okay? In the prophase of meiosis 1, it went through the steps of leptotene, zygotene, pachytene. But when it went into diplotene phase of that cell division, its cell division was arrested, paused. Okay? And all primary oocyte now are paused in the middle of meiosis 1. They're going to stay that way, okay, till that oocyte is brought on to enter into an ovarian cycle. That can happen when the female is 14. That can happen when the female is 40. You get it? Please think about this. This is what I want you to carry home, okay, as one of the important moments in our lecture. End product of meiosis 1 at this moment is arrested diplotene phase. Okay. So, meiosis phase of oogenesis, primary oocyte, entered meiosis 1, was arrested in diplotene phase of prophase. Got it? How long will this arrest last? Till that day when that oocyte is called upon to go into ovarian cycle. So, now what is happening in the female's ovary? In that ovary, the follicular cells, the ovarian cells, they come and surround each primary oocyte. Can you see that? That's the primary oocyte. They're all flat follicular cells have come to surround it, protect it, provide it with nourishment. Okay. So, this is a section of the ovary. Can you see how beautifully there are primordial follicles getting formed just below the surface of the ovary? Right. Each primordial follicle has in its core a primary oocyte arrested in diplotene phase. Okay. So, that's the stage at which we are now. Okay. So, what is the maturation? Why is the maturation inhibited? Why is it not completing meiosis 1? Because the surrounding follicular cells are secreting an oocyte maturation inhibitor. They are actively inhibiting the completion of meiosis 1. Is this arrest really okay? Are we okay with this? Is it all right? It's a good question actually. Maybe the primary oocyte is vulnerable to damage if it stays in this arrested phase for long, which is the probable reason why abnormal fetuses start to happen when the mother goes into pregnancy in late maternal age. That's a probable thought process. So, advanced maternal age increases the risk of chromosomal non-disjunction during meiosis, leading to conditions like trisomy 21. Now, that's why we say have your babies early. Not that anybody listens. Right. So, note that drugs, radiation, chemotherapy can damage these primary oocytes, causing premature ovarian failure and infertility. So, these are at that very delicate state Okay, so you take drugs, you undergo radiation. Remember, all this is going to affect that ovary and its precious content of primary oocytes. Right. So what is the function of primordial follicles? Supporting the developing oocyte, and they are the only source of oocytes. Remember, primordial follicles contain the only oocytes that are available in that ovary. They have to protect them. Now see students, I gave you a lot of information. Unless we run through it again, you're going to feel lost. So let's go back to the beginning, okay? At 5th to 6th week of intrauterine life, primordial germ cells reached the developing ovary. They formed numerous oogonia. Some oogonia increased in size by 3rd month to form primary oocyte. By 5th month, the ovary is packed with maximum germ cells, almost 6 to 7 million. Note the number. 6 to 7 million primary oocytes are there. Okay. By 5th month, the process of degeneration begins. Okay. So these primary oocytes begin to get destroyed. By 7th month, all oogonia converted to primary oocytes, and at birth, that ovary contains only 1 to 2 million primary oocytes. All primary oocytes, as you know, are arrested in diplotin phase or prophase. Does the degeneration stop? No, surprisingly, it doesn't. So, from birth to puberty, the primary oocytes are destroyed some more. Till at the time when the female hits puberty, she's got barely 40,000 primary oocytes left. Now, this number is very crucial. Can you imagine from 6 to 7 million to 40,000? That's all a female really has for her entire reproductive life. Why do primary oocytes degenerate? What is the purpose behind this? Probably to reduce the surplus and to remove defective germ cells. It's probable hypothesis. So now we've reached the phase 1. From the time she was conceived to the time she hits puberty. Now after puberty begins, what happens? So out of the large pool of 40,000, about 15 to 20 of these primary oocytes are called upon to now go into trying to develop a Graafian follicle and complete the process of oogenesis. Okay. So about 15 to 20 of them per month will come to try and form the enter into oogenesis. So what happens? How does this happen? Come. So that was primordial follicle. We know that in the center, it has a primary oocyte arrested in diplotin phase or prophase, and these are flattened follicular cells surrounding it, protecting it. As they realize that I've been called upon, to try and make a mature follicle, the follicular cells are encouraged to increase in size and become cuboidal as seen. Soon they multiply in number as well, so that instead of one layer, there are multiple layers. Okay, so stratified layer of granulosa, they're called granulosa cells. So they become a thick layer of cells surrounding the primary oocytes. Between them, an amorphous material gets formed, which is called as the zona pellucida. Very important. Okay, across the zona pellucida, these follicular cells keep on sending nourishment and stimulus to the primary oocyte. Oogenesis is paused. No oogenesis, progress is taking place. Remember that. Now what happens? These cells are also secreting some fluid. So fluid begins to accumulate within that follicle. You can see that such fluid-filled spaces begin to form. They're called as antrum. And such a follicle is seen around the first week of menstrual cycle and is called as a secondary follicle. Okay, so number of granulosa cells has increased. There are follicular cavities containing fluid called Leica folliculi, and this is called as a secondary follicle. Okay. The ovarian tissue around the follicle, also begins to change. It forms what is called theca folliculi, consisting of 2 layers. Theca interna, which is vascular, and theca externa, which is fibrous. Remember, the Graafian follicle itself is an avascular zone. This follicle itself is avascular. No blood vessels are entering inside. Right. Oogenesis is still arrested. Now what happens? What is the function of granulosa cells? Granulosa cells support and nourish the oocyte and secrete estrogen. What is the function of theca interna and externa cells? Theca interna again secretes estrogen. Externa is probably for support. So remember, from the outside there is this theca folliculi supporting the follicle. Many follicles reach secondary follicle stage. Many of them have reached this stage, but only one is called upon to go into the next stage to form a Graafian follicle. Remember, I mean one between the two ovaries, not in each ovary individually. So now this is the structure that finally gets formed, called as a Graafian follicle. Antrum has increased in size, full of fluid. Follicular cells are pressed on the outside to form a stratum, a layer called stratum granulosum or membrana granulosa. The primary oocyte is sitting in the center. Theca folliculi has also thickened to form theca interna, which has started to secrete estrogen and is sometimes called thecal gland. On the outside, it forms a theca externa, which is fibrous and starts to protect and hold on to that Graafian follicle. What else? You will see that a heap of cells are actually surrounding the primary oocyte itself. This heap of cells is called cumulus oophorus, accumulation of cells around the oocyte, cumulus oophorus. Surrounding the oocyte is a layer of cells called corona radiata. And holding that primary oocyte to the wall is a disc of cells called discus proligerus here. You must remember this. This is a structural Graafian follicle asked very often as a draw-in label in the earlier years of studying anatomy. So you must know this. Right. So this is your mature Graafian follicle, almost 2 to 2.5 centimeter in size. Can you imagine that? That's how big it is. Okay. In an ovary which is barely 3 centimeter. So can you imagine how much portion of the ovary this one Graafian follicle is occupying? Okay. So that's the ratio I want in your brain. Meanwhile, what is happening? Primary oocyte is still stuck in diplotin. What to do? So what happens is there is a luteinizing hormone surge. Suddenly there is luteinizing hormone, okay? And the role of that luteinizing hormone is to stimulate the primary oocyte to complete its meiosis. It's arrested, right? It has to complete meiosis. You want a secondary oocyte, right? So, LH surge is essential for ovulation, essential for continuation of meiosis. So, that's my primary oocyte. I want you to pause and study its structure just for a minute. This is the primary oocyte. It contains 46 chromosomes and 4 mDNA. The cell is quite large. It has an eccentric nucleus and a prominent nucleolus, you can see here. In the periphery, it has a nice row of cortical granules and abundant cytoplasm, mitochondria, all the cell organelles are present. It is having a cell membrane called oolemma, surrounded by a space called perivitelline space, surrounded by that amorphous material called zona pellucida, surrounded by a layer of cells called corona radiata. This is structure of a primary oocyte. You need to know it. Right. So what happens now? Meiosis 1 is resumed. So nuclear membrane disappears, nucleolus disappears. Homologous chromosomes attach themselves on the spindle. Chromosomes separate by meiosis 1, and there is formation of the outcome of meiosis 1, a secondary oocyte and the first polar body. Okay, so that's completion of meiosis 1 finally. Okay, what about nuclear and cytoplasmic division? This must be discussed. Why? Because secondary oocyte gets half the nuclear contents and all the cytoplasm. The first polar body gets the other half of the chromosomes, almost none of the cytoplasm, right? And that's why this is something different from what happens in spermatogenesis, where division is equal. In this case, there is unequal division, okay? Right. So primary oocyte, which was arrested in diplotin phase of prophase, completes meiosis 1 and results in formation of a secondary oocyte and first polar body. We are okay up till here. Secondary oocyte immediately enters into meiosis 2. I want to complete this division. I've been sitting around for too long. Okay. So it enters into meiosis 2, which is just like mitosis. Okay. But meiosis 2 gets arrested in metaphase. Arrested in metaphase, you can see the chromosomes on the spindle. It's arrested in metaphase. Just 3 hours prior to ovulation, the cell division is again paused. Meiosis 2 is now in arrest. Okay. So at ovulation, the secondary oocyte contains 23 chromosomes arranged on the spindle and has no nucleus. Please remember, when you're drawing the diagram, they should not contain a nucleus. Right. So what is the next step? The next step, of course, is ovulation. Right? So what have we done up till now? We saw that the primary oocyte was arrested in diplotin phase of prophase. It was protected by primordial follicles. When it is called upon to enter into ovarian cycle, the follicle forms a primary follicle, a secondary follicle, a Graafian follicle. Okay? And finally, it completes its meiosis 1 and there is formation of secondary oocyte and first polar body. Now we are expecting that this material is going to be released in the form of ovulation, which is what you will watch in oogenesis part 2. Okay, so in oogenesis part 2, we complete the oogenesis. We discuss details of oogenesis and its applied aspects. We discuss corpus luteum formation. These are all very common short notes, so we discuss them from that angle as well. I hope you enjoyed this lecture, and if you did, please like, share and subscribe to my channel and hit that bell icon. Also visit my website vbanatomy.com for more lectures, for surgical anatomy videos, downloadable notes, and come solve some MCQs. Students, do please share your thoughts about my lectures in the comment section. I need to know whether I'm really helping you in your journey in this medical field. Thank you. I'll see you in the next lecture, oogenesis part 2. Bye.